I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're going to be comparing the Air Travel Pack 4 35 liter and 28 liter. If you want to see our full reviews of each individual bag, we've linked those in the description below. Let's get into it. On the left, I have the 35 liter version of the Air Travel Pack and 4, and then on the right, I have the 28 liter version of the Air Travel Pack 4, 35, 28. I'm going to take everything from the 28 and put it into the 35, and as we go, I'm going to talk about kind of the differences between them and how what you have packed is most impacted by the size of the bags. Because ultimately, these two are basically just like a replica of each other. The 28 is just obviously a little bit smaller. So with these materials here, I have the 28 liter in the X-Pack material and the 35 liter in the Ultra material. The biggest difference between these with weight is it's honestly minuscule. So like for example, the Cordura pack version of this pack in the 28 is 3.52 pounds versus the 35 being 3.90 pounds in the Cordura. So you're not really seeing like a huge difference. On average, between all of the materials and weight differences and all that jazz, between the 28 and the 35, you have around a 0.3 to 0.38 pound difference, which is about 4 to 6 ounces or 135 to 170 gram difference. So obviously the 35 is always going to be a little bit like heavier, but you're not seeing a huge weight savings if you go down to the 28. I would say the biggest thing is going to be which size is best for you, and that comes down to what you can actually pack inside, which is what we're going to primarily focus on in this video. So on the outside here, external components, it is pretty basic. We've got some Hypalon loops around here. These are going to give you extra leverage when you're opening and shutting pockets. We've got YKK zippers throughout. These ones have AquaGuard style around as well. We also have the Hypalon loops down at the bottom to give you some extra leverage. With the sides, we've got some D-rings for attaching. We have a D-ring here and a D-ring there. Like I said, these are basically replicas of each other, so you're not really gonna see a lot of differences between them. With the handle, we have just like a little quick grab handle on the back there and one on the back of the 35 liter, as well as side carry handles. All of these are super well padded. We have full reviews on each of these bags, so if you want to get into like the nitty gritty of how each bag performs, go and check those videos out, because this is primarily going to be just like a comparison of the two sizes. So let's get into the harness system. Again, surprise, surprise, these two are very similar. So we've got load lifters to help with some support. We have Hypalon loops here to attach gear if you want. We've got a D-ring. We have a sternum strap on a sliding rail for both of these bags. We also have a spot to attach a hip belt. This is sold separately. I would recommend getting it if you're going to be doing with the 28, you could probably get away without it. The 35, I would definitely recommend it. It just adds a lot of comfort, especially if you're going to be traveling abroad. If you're doing a quick trip and you're not going to be wearing it very long, it's definitely comfortable without the hip belt, but might be worth consideration if you want a little bit of extra support for the harness system. We also have a luggage pass-through on both of these that's Velcroed down, so you just undo that and then you can slide it over your luggage. And then the padding here is like, it's like an inch or so of padding, and the padding is the same on each of them. So you don't get more padding by going up in size, similar to how like the shoulder straps are very similar contour and they're also very similar width. So this is just a little closer to the camera. That's why it looks a little bit bigger from the top down, but they are basically the same size. So if you are concerned about carry comfort, the 28 liter is probably going to be the best for the most body types. It's definitely more size for like smaller frames. So if you do have a smaller frame, the 28 is probably going to be more comfortable for you. The 35 is a great pick though for if you're going to be carrying a little bit more. Still comfortable on smaller frames, but you just get to carry more. I'm currently wearing the 28 liter version of the bag. This is properly sized, I would say, for my frame to be like the most comfortable. So I am 5'6". I have a 16.5-inch torso, and you can see that it's falling like just past my lower back, so it's not like bumping into me any weird, like in any weird ways. I also find the shoulder straps pretty comfortable. When I'm wearing a tank top, I can definitely feel them on the sides of my shoulders, but generally when I'm in transit and I'm wearing a backpack, I'm gonna wear like at least a t-shirt to be more comfortable regardless of the bag I'm wearing. You also have the load lifters here, which do a lot of work for redistributing the weight. Like I mentioned, you can add a hip belt if you want, and it'll basically take it from where it's currently sitting to like here, which definitely takes weight off of your shoulders. So if you are concerned about carry comfort, that's a great option. But like I mentioned, with this 28 liter size, I find that without the hip belt, it's still more than comfortable enough, even on my smaller frame. And this is the 35 liter on. So again, 5'6", 16.5-inch torso. And you can see that compared to the 28, it fits so much lower on my body. So like I said, the 28 liter is definitely more sized for smaller frames or people who want to pack a lot lighter. But I personally, when I put them on back to back with the same amount of gear inside, or even a little bit more in the 35 liter, I do find the 35 liter to be a little bit more comfortable for me, just because it's like, in order to get the 28 liter as centered as possible and as comfortable as possible on my back, I have to make the straps pretty tight. So with the 35 liter, I can loosen up the straps a little bit. I have a little bit more breathing room. I just find it to be a little bit more comfortable for me personally. From a textbook standpoint, the 28 liter is definitely just a better size for my body, just necessarily, or for smaller frames, but just maybe not necessarily for like my body in particular, the way I like to wear bags. If I did have this 35 though, and I wanted to be wearing it for long periods of time, I would again pair it with the hip belt. So if this is how it is without the hip belt, adding a hip belt takes it to about here, which takes a ton of weight off of my shoulders in addition to the load lifters and everything else it has going on. So either way, from a comfort standpoint, you really can't go wrong. It comes down to your body, like your size, your torso, and your personal comfort preferences. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Now let's get this bad boy packed up. So 28 liter, again, 28 liter, 35 liter. We're gonna move everything from here to here. Right now, I have 2 weeks of gear inside of the 28 liter backpack, and you'll see how that transfers over. So with this bottom like zippered pocket, they made adjustments to the design so that it's a lot easier to get your gear out. I still find it kind of difficult in the 28 liter because regardless of what I put in there, it's just like it squeezes in so tight. So I already have beef with that pocket, honestly. I have less beef with it now with the new design. I like it a lot better, but still it's a little bit tougher. So I have a packable jacket in there, and that filled out like most of the space here. And you can see that in the 35 liter, it's like, I don't know, I've got space for a much larger pouch or something if I wanted to put more gear in here. But again, I'm not packing a ton in there because I don't really like that pocket. With the admin pocket, in the 28 liter, let's do this. Where's that opening? It's right here. In here, I have a toiletry bag. So this is because if I'm going through airport security, I want quick access to this in case they ask me to pull my stuff out. So I can put that very easily up in there. But with the amount of space that's left over in this bottom pocket, you could also put it like right at the top of here. Whereas in the 28 liter, it was just a little bit too tight to do that comfortably. So for the sake of this, I'm going to show you what it looks like actually in the admin pocket. But again, this organization is basically a one-to-one. So I have a passport size notebook. Look at how this fits in here. And then if I add it into the 35 liter, there's a little bit of extra space there. So that's a good example of what you're gonna find throughout this entire pack, is that whatever you find in the 28 liter, make it slightly bigger, and that's what it's gonna be like in the 35. Same with the pen slot here. That goes in and it doesn't block the zipper. Like barely doesn't block the zipper. Like it does I guess technically hit it, but doesn't really cover it as much as it does in like even the City Pack Pro 2. And then with the other thing, or the other compartment, I have my wallet, and I think that was it in there. And then I have my keys on the key leash. At this point, I don't remember what key leash I have in the 35. Is it in here? I can't remember which one we put it on. Okay, so there's 3 different spots you can put it. I'm gonna leave my keys out for now, and I'll put them wherever I find that key leash, but the key leash can go here. And then, you know what, actually, I'm gonna put my keys in here so you can see what that looks like when they're full. But basically, they're just gonna hang out there. And then in the zippered pocket, I've got a battery bank, and I have I have a couple other accessories in here. See, it's just like a little bit tighter to get my hand in. Obviously, it's because the main pack is packed out as well right now. I think that's it in there. And then I have a Kindle that can fit right in this back pocket. There's also something else that will fit in that back pocket. So if I go into the laptop compartment, you'll see here that I have a 16-inch laptop, but I also in this back area have a iPad, and the iPad fits inside of this top pocket. Let me take out the Kindle. The iPad fits in the 35-liter slip pocket, but if I show you the 24-liter slip pocket, there we go. The iPad does not fit in there. So, and it doesn't fit vertically either, to be clear. So, you can put the iPad in this front pocket if you desire. You can also still fit the Kindle in there. It's a little bit of a squeeze, but it still technically fits. And then in this back laptop compartment, they both fit a 16-inch laptop. So that is an option. Ooh, dropping down. Okay, all right. It's like flopping like a fish. 16-inch fits in there. And then here is the rest of the space, the admin pocket. And I can put the toiletry bag in there, zip this up, and I am good to go with the external compartments. I guess there's one more technically. We've got the top pocket here, which is a drop pocket. I have my phone in here, and I like to keep my AirPods in here too, but they fall down because this pocket is so wide, they fall down kind of into the corner, which is annoying. Small nitpick more than anything, honestly. But my phone fit in there and my AirPods, but the phone had to be like super flat up at the top. Whereas with the way that it is now, it can go in a little bit at an angle. So apart from that, like really the only other one you have are the water bottle pockets. Both of these are stretchy. In one, I have this Yeti, and if I move it to the other, it sticks out, like it goes a little bit further in, but it sticks out honestly just as much, especially once the main compartment is full. And then I have an umbrella in the other, again, goes in further. But once we fill up the main compartment, which we'll look at now, it does all just start to expand out a little bit. It just doesn't look quite as stuffed as the 28-liter, which makes sense because you have more room to work with. All right, I went ahead and opened up the 35-liter bag so that we can get a nice look at it. The lid is all packed up, or this lid size, the external side, is packed up with all of the gear. And if I open up the main compartment of the 28-liter, I'll put them side by side so you can kind of see what we're working with. I found the key leash. That one was in there. That's the other location for it. Okay, so actually we're gonna look at the lids first. So let me change up how I have it configured here. So we've got the same lid pockets. You can see side by side, the 28 liters, just a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter on this end too. So obviously you're losing a little bit of lid space if that's something that also matters to you. In this bottom one, I just have a hat, which is like honestly probably just the max that I would put in there, maybe like socks and underwear if I can get them to fit, but those can also go up here where there's a little bit more flexibility. This is a mesh material. This is just that like ripstop material liner. And then the speaker can go up here too. I put the speaker up here versus down here because this is stretchy and it can move with it. So I put stretchy items that don't necessarily have a place to go otherwise in here, and then anything else that's like smaller and flat can go in that front area. Now with the main compartment. So let me do this. I'm trying to figure out the best way to show you. So in the 28 liter, take a look at how this is packed out right now, right? So I've got a pair of shoes down here. This is a men's size 12 shoe. I don't have it in a shoe pouch because these are shoes that we keep at the office, so they're not dirty. I would normally put my shoes in a shoe pouch, just for the record. So we have men's size 12, which fit in the bag. We also have 2 packing cubes. So I've got one slightly larger cube and a smaller cube, and then a tech pouch underneath and another pouch up top with some extra accessories. So all of those fit side by side. Take a little brain snapshot there, or come back to this part in a second. But basically, all of this gear, if I want to stick this into the 35, you can see the shoes fit here. This packing cube fits here. I have the tinier, well, let me do this. I have the tech pouch here, the tinier cube here, and then the accessory pouches there, and I have a whole other space to work with. So what I can do with this 35 liter is reconfigure the way that I have everything packed a little bit. And so I can do, I believe that fits that way, or did I have it this way? I packed this up a couple of different ways. This cube, this extra cube is not quite as packed, but I think maybe it was this. Yeah, I did that. And then I had this here. And so I was able to get one additional cube inside of this. And even if I did have this packed out all the way, let's say it was like stretched out a little bit, you can still easily get this bag closed. So if I'm going to close this, you just hold on to this area down here, you give it a pull, and you can get it shut pretty easily. So this is what this looks like all packed out. You can see there's a little bit of empty space down here that wasn't like fully utilized by me. So there is still room to work with. That little crunchy space was kind of there on the 28, but not quite as much. So I think the biggest thing to kind of keep in mind here is that, again, I've said this like 12 times throughout this video, but the 28 liter is going to be great if you want to go like as minimalist as possible. But if you're like me and you just prefer bringing some more extra clothes, I think the 35 is going to be a lot better. So, or if your clothing is a little bit bigger, it's harder to fit it inside of a smaller bag. So I prefer to be able to have 3 packing cubes worth of stuff. This is 2 weeks worth of gear inside of the backpack right now. I would say if you pack even lighter, you can still get 2 weeks worth of gear in the 28 liter easily, but you're gonna be crunched for space a little bit more. If you're like me and you wanna have some liberty, be able to take some liberties with what you're bringing, the 35 liter is gonna be more of a fit for you. But from a functionality standpoint and a standpoint of just, I guess, features, you're pretty much getting the same bag either way. So there you have it, the Air Travel Pack 4 28 liter and 35 liter. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.